This is me at the world's most dangerous border crossing in America.
Have you ever seen any immigrants getting?
Yes.
And for the next 72 hours, I've been given exclusive access behind the scenes into this lawless, brutal war zone.
U.S. President Donald Trump is vowing to permanently pause all immigration from what he calls third world countries.
I don't want them in our country. Our country stinks.
Tonight, President Trump's immigration crackdown ramping up.
The promise from the president was to deport 1 million illegal aliens a year.
To uncover the truth behind the headlines.
The number of migrants arriving at the southern border is unprecedented.
We were struck by just how orderly and routine it all seemed.
If you are considering entering America illegally, don't even think about it.
We will hunt you down.
And to witness the deadly human toll this crisis has caused.
Are those human
This will be a crazy 72 hours. And the timer starts right now. So I'm on my way to the US-Mexico border. A border that thousands of people die attempting to cross it every single year. And one that's quickly becoming one of the most controversial crossings in the world. Let's go. Right away, I nervously attempted to cross the US-Mexico border, but it quickly became apparent to me that this would not be so easy.
You always play good at Stadium. So what is it?
US?
Yes, UK.
Oh, UK passport, okay. You also got a UK passport?
No,
American. American, you got your US passport? Hold on, stop right there. Para ahí, right behind him.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
At this point, I was already myself, and after 45 minutes worth of questioning, I was finally allowed in.
Ladies and gentlemen, officially a warm welcome to the US. Man, that was f***ing intense. A lot of questions about who I am, what I'm doing here, if I'm a journalist, if I like Putin, and if I prefer Burger King or McDonald's. Joking aside, what I was able to do just now is something that many people can only dream of. And all of that is because I am fortunate enough to have a passport. Man, it really makes you question life when a small document like this can mean that you can get in or that you get denied and get sent back to where you came from.
Just as I started to calm down, I got a message that stopped me in my tracks. And it was a message from a sheriff that was in charge of one of the most dangerous stretches of the border. A stretch that the cartels used for human trafficking, drug smuggling, and illegal immigration. And even though I was still myself, I decided to head over there to meet him.
Ali, right?
How are you, sir? Yes,
Hey,
sir.
I'm good.
Feeling apprehensive, I needed to get stuck into some important questions as I was genuinely concerned for both of our safety.
Obviously, you are the sheriff that's responsible for Taylor County, which is one of the biggest counties here in Texas.
Yes.
And one that is heavily human trafficked. What would you say is the most dangerous situation you've been involved in?
Oh, wow, man. You know, that's a good question because, spent 26 years as a Border Patrol agent, working the borders, and I worked the borders out in Arizona. I've been shot at. I had my truck shot at back in Nogales, chasing a group along the border.
Wow.
I had a friend back in Nogales that Alexander Kirtnick, he jumped a dope load. One of the people that was carrying the marijuana had a pistol and turned around and hit Alexander in the head, and he died from that gunshot wound.
With that sobering story still fresh in my mind, I wanted to find out what kind of people were crossing this border. But his answer did not put me at ease.
What types of people are you apprehending? Are they human smugglers, drug smugglers, or simply innocent people just trying to cross and get a better living?
So we touch a little bit of all of that, but the vast majority of people we catch here are from the country of Mexico. And the vast majority are adult Mexican men. We will catch some females, we will catch some juveniles, but they'll be accompanied by a family member. We will catch smugglers, whether it's the coyotes, the people that are smuggling them across, or the drivers that come down from different parts of the United States to pick them up to remove them from the area.
As we walked around, it dawned on me how dangerous the US-Mexico border could be. And so I needed to ask this question.
Are you ever scared of dying?
Not at all. I've been shot at, I've been in fist fights, I've been in chases. That's the fun stuff about our job. In a career field where I know that I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, to protect the citizens, protect our sovereignty, and when you put a badge and a gun on your hip, then you're going to be a target. So it comes with expectation. I don't have a death wish by any means, but I definitely know that there is dangers, and I'm also willing to put my life on the line.
At this point, we jumped into the sheriff's car and we headed towards the most dangerous part of this border. And believe you me, what happens out there is crazy. But before gambling my life away, I needed to understand what I was putting myself into in the first place.
How would you say the border situation is right now? Is it quieting down or is it getting more and more crossings?
I like to give the comparison for the most recent activity. There were just over 4,500 apprehensions southwest border wide. However, in October, those apprehensions jumped up, in September jumped up to just over 8,000. So we are seeing a bit of an increase. I think now that those alien smuggling organizations, the cartels that control the border, I think they've been able to sit back and kind of see how Border Patrol's deployed, how they've employed the U.S. military along the border, and now they're just starting to kind of test and probe. And another reason is you know what's going on with the I.C.E. in the interior and with Border Patrol agents being sent to those areas. You know, that may be sending the signal that, hey, there's less Border Patrol agents on the border. Maybe it's a good opportunity for us to try.
Fearing for our safety, I wanted to find out who was really in charge of this border.
So the cartels control every piece of the U.S.-Mexico border on the Mexican side. You're not going to cross a portion of the border that doesn't belong to the cartel. So you're going to have to pay somebody, what we call in Spanish, the mordida. But you will see American citizens that are involved in the smuggling of people. So they may not be smuggling them on the south side to the border or crossing the border, but they're often the ones that drive down from Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, California, Virginia, wherever people are coming to pick up people. Those are typically U.S. citizens. We will catch some that are illegal aliens as well. They may be working to pay off a smuggling fee. You know, part of their agreement to get smuggled is, okay, well, you're going to have to run, 5 loads for us from the border. You're going to have to drive down to Sanderson, pick up people and bring them back to Austin.
Do you have people crossing in these sorts of areas as well?
Most definitely. Right where we're at is currently an area where we're seeing a lot of activity.
After consuming so much conflicting news before coming to the US, I really wanted to know what caused this border crisis in the first place. But his answer really shocked me.
Modern day slavery, wanting to grow the economy by using uneducated, unskilled labor to take jobs that are out there to grow those industries. But it's really what it is, modern day slavery. The system isn't broken.
Yeah.
What's broken is Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
That's what's broken. And it, not that one party has it right. Both parties are just equally as guilty. We're seeing now, there's been a few times where Trump said, all right, we may hold off a little bit because of them going into some of those industries and having an impact.
It depends on who's donating.
Yes, donations and then those lobbyists that go up to Congress. Here's a little bit of, take it easy on the border. Put some more towers and some more agents, but we want to stop some, but not all.
At this point, we finally arrived to the most dangerous part of this border. And let me just tell you now that this place was not for the faint of heart. The cartels smuggled people on a daily basis. Hundreds of migrants crossed it illegally without any documentation, and the army was out in full force to help out. And if you thought that this place was wild during the day, the nights over there were even more crazy. A time where multiple groups of migrants crossed into the US in an attempt to be smuggled into the neighboring states. But while it's tempting to think that all those crossing the border were bad people, the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth, even if that came at the cost of their own lives. At this point, I was genuinely taken back, and I honestly did not know if I could trust anything the right-wing media, the government, or even the people representing it were telling me. And so, I decided to do a sit-down interview with the sheriff and ask him how any of these actions could be justified. However, before doing that, I flew all the way to California to attend an anti-ICE protest led by people on the complete opposite side of the political spectrum.
So I just made it to LA, and from what I can see, there's a big protest going on about people that were held in detention centers that unfortunately ended up dying. Let's go take a look.
When I was just a baby, my mom said to me, she said you should flee this country, get to some safety. So I hopped a couple of borders into the USA. Now Now that orange man's got some power, so he's sending ICE my way.
There are a couple of million undocumented people in this whole area. They're never going to get all of them. It's kind of a fake campaign, actually, to develop a secret police with whom they can go after anybody who is against them. Many people have died because of these raids. One of them was shot at the entrance to a detention center.
After that polarizing speech, I was keen to learn about why they were holding this protest in the first place.
If you topple a fascist regime, which that's what we have, even though he was elected, it was all, there was a lot of gerrymandering, there was a lot of lies, there was a lot of manipulation. If you take down a fascist regime, you usually get more progressive than you were when you started. And I think it's from what we're seeing. We're working together on the left in a way that has never happened.
Can you walk us through some of those people? Like, what were they held in detention for?
So I don't have the specific. So on the site there is specifics.
Yeah.
We are, So when I put these together, I read them, but I don't remember.
When you watch the news, they put out a narrative that you shouldn't care about these people are just criminals. What do you think of that?
So, most of the people that are being taken now have no criminal record at all. A lot of the immigrant community are much more law-abiding than, if you looked at the percentage. So it's all fabricated. It's all about breeding hate and getting people to accept something that is completely unacceptable because it fits their agenda.
At this point, I really wanted to know why ICE were doing these immigration raids.
ICE and DHS was initiated as a racist organization. Even during, the Obama's presidency, as we saw, there were people being held in detention centers in terrible conditions, children and adults. It's only getting worse. The whole plan of the Trump takeover is to send as many back, put them in prisons, take advantage of the slave labor. So, it's just getting worse. They're beholden to people. AIPAC, the Israeli organization, the Zionist organization, is the best example of that, where U.S. has completely bowed to that. In terms of Gaza, right? Everybody knows it's a genocide.
The justification that ICE says, well, these people crossed the border illegally. Do you think that it should be a crime to cross the border illegally?
Well, it's not a crime.
Crossing the border illegally?
It's a civil violation. It's not even a crime.
Crossing the border without?
Yeah, it's a civil violation. It's not. It doesn't rise to that category of a crime.
You began to show up.
But they want to turn it into a crime. Should there be ways of doing it safely and in a more dignified way? Of course. But there are. They are for rich people. They can come and go whenever they want. For Americans, there are open borders. An American can actually go with a passport to Guatemala whenever they want to. The next round of refugees that are coming are is white people from South Africa. The president hasn't, they're not hiding about their ideology and what they believe. They're saying it openly.
How do you believe they're being treated as they cross the border and they get apprehended?
We see the conditions under which they're being detained, and it's really abhorrent conditions. They never see the sun. The rooms are very cold, and they're not given the proper blankets.
Having spent time talking to the protesters, I realized that two things can be true all at once. It was obvious that innocent people got caught up in the system and were being held in slave-like detention camps, or where I'll visit them later in the Mexican slums.
This is where you live with your wife?
Yeah.
You okay?
But on the other hand, it was also clear that not everyone was just at the wrong place and the wrong time, as some of them were being detained on serious charges. Nonetheless, I headed back to Texas to confront the sheriff with this newly found perspective, a man in the exact position that these protesters were fighting against.
On the news, we see a lot of ICE deportations, the National Guard being deployed, and people being held in detention centers. What are your thoughts about the way ICE is handling the crisis?
First and foremost, ICE does have the authority to go anywhere in the United States, just like the Border Patrol under Title VIII, which is the Immigration and Nationality Act, and carry out those jobs that they're doing. They're not bad people. They're just like me. They care about this country. So what they're doing is not just going out there and doing what we hear a lot of, that they're kidnapping people and taking people. Yes, they go out and they'll interview somebody and make a determination if they believe they're here illegally or not. But right now, what we're seeing the United States government do is deploy its resources politically rather than tactically. And what I mean tactically is having the operational advantage to go in and take care of business without creating the ruckus that's being created. And it's not necessarily ICE or Border Patrol creating the ruckus, it's those that are protesting. And it's unfortunate because we have had some people that were detained that were shot and injured or killed. Our officers and agents' lives are put at risk, and then even innocent civilians that may be in those areas going to work or living, their lives are put at risk because of all the chaos that's going on.
At this point, I wanted to challenge the sheriff with what I had learned from the ICE protesters, and so I had to ask this question.
Is the border crisis simply a race issue?
Not whatsoever. Not at all. People from all over the world utilize the southern border with Mexico to exploit it to make their illegal entry in the United States. People with blonde hair and blue eyes, people with red hair and blue eyes, people with black hair and black skin. It's not just people with brown skin crossing the border. It's people of all race, religion, and color. To say that it's a racist thing, it's not. It's keeping our borders protected, keeping America sovereign, and it makes sure people come in a way, in a fashion that's orderly. Why do we have security systems on our houses or locks on our doors? To keep people we don't want coming in. And the border is essentially the same thing.
Who would you say actually profits from the border crisis? Is it the cartels, the human smugglers, or is it the American billionaires?
The big industries, the billionaires, whether it's in the agriculture industry, the food industry, beef, pork, and poultry, construction, because a lot of times people are being paid cash money under the table, so the big industries don't have to pay medical insurance for people, into retirement for people. They're able to just pay them those wages under the table at a lower wage. They're not having to pay them minimum wage even. And, definitely saving them lots of money. But I don't think politicians really want to stop the illegal immigration. If they're going to lie to me about the border, which they were doing, then what else are they willing to lie to us about? What's going on in Israel or COVID, about, all this other stuff that's going on. Because I can tell you that what they were briefing out in the news about the border was not accurate.
At this point, I was keen to ask him about the question that has been on my mind since we first met.
Have you ever seen any immigrants getting?
Yes, quite a few. Not just since I've been sheriff, even at my time in Arizona when I first became a Border Patrol agent, whether it was illegal aliens just dying out in the desert. We also had instances where we had what was called rip-off crews, where you would have one cartel wait for the other cartel to cross the border with their drugs and then try to rob them and steal their drugs. It's very sad. You don't want to see anybody die. It doesn't matter if someone's a good guy or bad guy or legal or illegal. Death is something that's the last thing, the last resort.
Have you ever personally put people and immigrants into body bags yourself?
Quite a few. Probably closer to the number of about 40. Based on my faith, based on the way I was raised, very comfortable with death. The position I'm in, obviously have seen, a lot of death. When we're able to go out and find somebody, I'm relieved, meaning I can bring closure to a family, because unfortunately, I have messages in my phone still of people that we haven't found, or we have records here of people that have crossed this portion of the border. They haven't contacted their loved ones, and their loved ones have either been notified that they were left behind, or they know they were left behind. So there's still bodies out here we haven't found, and we may never find. I wish we could find every one of them, again, to bring closure, because you hear me say so often, the people across the border here are no different than me or you. So I can only help to know that there's families like my family that just want to know what's happened to their son or daughter.
I'll be honest, I really did not expect someone in the sheriff's position to feel any remorse for the illegal immigrants dying out there. But the more I spoke to him, the more I realized that this could not be further from the truth.
If you was born into a poor, war-torn country and you had the same opportunity and the same decision to make as an illegal immigrant crossing into the US, would you do it?
100%. We're blessed to be born in the United States of America. I am blessed to be born here. Had I been born somewhere else, I would likely be doing the same thing that these people are doing, coming to the greatest country in the world to better my life. Why God chose for me to be born in this country, I don't know, but I'm grateful. Having grown up in a community that's predominantly Hispanic, and the way I've received nothing but love. My best friends are, Hispanic, and growing up at their houses and eating, and their families taking me on a family vacation, and even some of that culture that I received as a kid is some of the culture I want to give back. My house when my kids were young was a revolving door. We welcomed everybody in our home as well. So it's a great culture. It really is. Obviously, in all cultures, we all have people that are going to not necessarily maybe not be like us or embarrass us or cause people to label us. Every now and then we may have a bad apple that surfaces, but we can't allow that one bad apple to label the rest of us. And unfortunately, through some of that media, we all get labeled, but couldn't be further from the truth. I like to say in Spanish to them, puro mexicano en mi corazón, which means, my heart's, pure Mexican.
As I continued speaking to the sheriff, it became clear that there were only 3 outcomes that the immigrants could face. 1, they could attempt crossing, get caught, and then get deported back to Mexico, dumped into filthy, inhumane slums. 2, they could cross the initial part of the border, but end up dead in the vast Texas wilderness. 3, they can successfully cross into the US, but get stuck in the lowest paid jobs. 3 outcomes I needed to see for myself, starting out in the deportee slum of Mexico.
So I just made it to an area called Cartelandia, which literally translates to as the land of the cardboard, and it's locally known as the deportee slum of Tijuana. This is where over 600 people live, and most of which are actually deportees. Unfortunately, as you can see from around me, they do not live in the best of conditions. The houses here are made out of cardboard, bits of metal, some broken bits of plastic, and they run the risk of these electricity wires falling down and burning this entire slum. This is devastating, man. It is really, really sad. But what I really want to do now is to go ahead and speak to some people, learn about their stories, and hopefully see some redemption.
Welcome to my humble home. It's a place I share with other deportees. It's tiny, but it has everything we need. A bathroom, a closet, and a room. Let me introduce you to my friend. He has almost nothing, but he's a true, loyal friend.
Buen día. Buen día.
Viven humildemente, pero pues...
Amigo?
Amigos.
Amigos. Buen día.
And like me, he's in a tough situation because he doesn't have papers to work. He was deported too.
No tienen papeles para trabajar porque pues deportados de allá y bien difícil todo. Entonces, pues te das cuenta aquí pues el agua pues no la pasa.
We don't have running water because the government decided to cut it off, and the electricity situation is even worse. We borrow it from that light pole over there since we are not hooked up to the power grid. We used to have many children here, but they all had to leave. Life here is too hard for kids.
Solo, tranquilo, una amiga salió, pero mi refri, pues,
everything I own is in this room. A friend left me this fridge, but as you can see, I can't afford to put any food in it until next Saturday.
And who's this lady? Is that your girlfriend?
She's a friend of mine from a strip club called Hong Kong in Tijuana. I met her when I was deported, and she really helped me out.
You're a handsome fella. I'm sure you'll get her one day. She's very thick.
Everyone calm down. As they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
At this point, I was genuinely taken back. But what shocked me even more were the lengths that he had to go through just to get some drinking water right next to the sewage system.
Right here, it's pure sewage, and it smells like absolute. On one side, it's poop, and on the other side, it's drinking water.
Wow, look at this. Me, bro. This smells as crazy as you think it does.
Limpia, drenaje. Mira, está limpia, mira. Esta agua no está sucia, esta agua no tiene drenaje, mira.
This is for drinking?
Mira, esta puedes hasta tomar si quieres.
You can even drink it if you want.
You drink this?
A lot of people who live on the street come here every day to bathe and drink, and then they piss over there.
Aquel lado es el drenaje.
Having witnessed the inhumane conditions that this deportee lived in, I was keen to learn more about his story.
Can you tell me how you crossed in the US? Was it legally or illegally?
I crossed into the US from Tijuana, hiking through the mountains. I went completely by myself and totally alone. I had to stay out of sight, dodging the cartel, the kidnappers, and battled the exhaustion for days. I watched the border for a long time, waiting for the right moment. I knew I'd only get one small window when the border personnel would change shift. When I knew that nobody was looking, I slipped across into the US. Then I ran until I found the nearest traffic lights, and I hid under the tarp of a pickup truck.
La libré, me fui en Oceanside, en Pedal Vista, ahí me quedé.
I ended up living in a cardboard box, scraping together whatever I could find. I suffered just to eat, and I barely survived.
Can you tell me about your experience of being deported here from the US?
When I worked in the car wash in the US, everything was going well. I was strong and really muscular, a lot like yourself. But one day, all of that changed. I was polishing the rim of a car when the ICE agents came in and arrested everyone, demanding their IDs. They handcuffed me and asked, "Do you have papers to work in the US?" I told them, "No, I don't." And just like that, I was deported. During my 4 years working at the car wash, I had all my money stashed away inside a mattress that I was renting. I would flip the mattress over, cut a small hole, and I'd hide my money in there. After 4 years of working, I managed to save up $1,400. That was my entire life savings. But when I was deported, ICE didn't let me go back and collect it. I had to leave with nothing. And the landlord, he ended up stealing all my money.
At this point, I genuinely felt devastated, and so I decided to help him out with some money to ease his situation. But first, I needed to crawl my way up this damn bridge.
I'm just gonna go ahead and become a cameraman. It's good? Is this easier than
No, te vas hasta abajo.
Apparently this is easier than crossing the US-Mexico border, my friend. Problem is I have 2 left feet. I'm gonna stumble against myself.
A ver, con la suya te vas a ganar ni con otro.
I don't know how he's doing this without steps. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And also a very hard thing to share. And I can see that there's a lot of emotion involved. And I really hope your life will become a little bit easier. So if it's okay with you, I just wanted to help you out a little bit, make your life a little bit easier. So here I have $300. This is for you.
This is truly amazing. Honestly, I'm so thankful.
Está cabrón, pero la verdad, Dios te dé el doble de lo que tú me diste.
Thank you. God bless.
Really quickly, if you're enjoying the videos that I am making, then I would really appreciate it if you like the video and if you subscribed, because 92% of you that regularly watch my videos are not subscribed, and obviously the only way I can make these videos is because of your support. Thank you.
Maybe you can spend some money on your girlfriend, huh?
Listen, I can introduce you. Seriously, whenever you want, we can go to the strip club and I'll introduce you to her.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May God bless you. You have an incredible heart, my friend.
Having built as much good karma as I could, I headed deeper into the slum to see if it was true that the American billionaires were still making profit of these deportees. And honestly, I did not need to look too hard to find my answer.
One of the most devastating and contrasting images is the inclusion of these big factories over here. There are aerospace industries, there are medical factories, as well as a huge Amazon warehouse. And if you can see right there on the top, they actually ended up removing the Amazon sign because they were getting so much backlash for taking over all this land and encroaching on these people's houses. I really don't know where your personal beliefs lie, and I also don't know how you feel about these people, whether you're on the left or the right, whether you are pro-immigration or anti-immigration, you can't help but feel sorry for these people. They suffer from prostitution and extortion, and unfortunately, this is all they have.
And with that, I started heading back to the US to look for people who were not lucky enough to get deported, but instead lost their lives trying to cross the border. But before doing that, I was keen to learn about how this detainee was separated from his children.
I have 2 children that I was separated from. They were fine since they are Americans. But since I'm the one without papers, the ICE agents attacked me and deported me. This is the result of the uprising that Donald Trump caused.
Donald Trump fue lo que, pues es lo que pasa, pues. ¿Cómo ve? ¿Entendés?
You okay? What is this?
Trump
2020?
Yeah.
You're a Trump supporter?
No. When I was deported to Tijuana, Trump made me and everyone else with me put this wristband on. If you didn't wear it, they wouldn't give you anything. No food, no sandwich, not even water.
O sea, si tú no te pones esa bandita,
I had no choice. I had to wear it.
Tienes que agarrarlo, okay, prendelo y ya sales así con eso.
This room is all I have now. It doesn't even have any real walls. Look at it, it's just cardboard.
Can you tell me why you feel emotional? What makes you cry?
This is what my life has come to. I have nothing. And the hardest part is starting over with no papers. I can't even work in Mexico.
¿Volver a empezar?
What do you hope for now that you're back in Mexico? What things do you look forward to day by day?
No sé.
I honestly don't know what to do.
No sé yo ahorita lo que...
This week I had to spend all my money on medicine because I'm very sick. My wife and I only own a few little things. Even the clothes we wear, we found them in the trash that people threw away.
Tenemos ropa que no nos quedan.
They don't even fit me properly.
Queda a veces sí.
I don't know how to escape this nightmare.
¿En serio? O sea que se me hace un poco difícil a mí todo esto.
I don't know how much longer I can keep living like this.
Digo la verdad. Muy difícil esto.
Listening to his story, I genuinely felt sick to my stomach, and it further confirmed to me that the media portrayal of people like him was completely wrong.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to help you out a little bit. There's $200 for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope I'll see you sometime soon in better fortune, in better circumstances.
Okay.
God bless. Take care.
Alhamdulillah.
God bless.
All right, man.
Before coming to the US-Mexico border, it was very difficult to find news that was current and also accurate. Platforms like TikTok and Facebook, they are not exactly built for clarity. They love pushing their own agenda, and so it's really easy to get stuck into the media echo chamber, not knowing what's real news and what is fake news. But luckily for me, I've been using Straight Arrow News. It is completely free, and they let you find fact-based reporting from the left, right and the center, so you get the full picture without the usual biased agenda. Ah, look at that. It looks like this man is doing some work. Buen día.
Buen día.
¿Qué pedo, güey?
¿Cuál pedo de qué? ¿Qué trata qué? A ver, dígame por qué.
Damn, my Spanish is not as good as I thought. Okay. Okay, gracias. Gracias.
Using Straight Arrow News' mediumist tool, he can see exactly which stories are being skipped by the mainstream media. Like how the left-leaning outlets didn't cover that the FBI spied on immigrant activists' private group chats, or how the right completely skipped over the fact that the Homeland Security Secretary has continued to deport immigrants despite a federal court order.
And while I've been traveling here, I've been following the news that LA has declared a state of emergency over the ICE raids. Trust me, the world is in a mess right now.
Aww. Hello, doggy. And if you wanted to learn more about a specific story, Straight Arrow News' media landscape tool shows you exactly which outlets are covering it and even lets you check their political bias. And if you wanted to see the original article, just click the outlet's icon and it will take you straight there.
And best of all, Straight Arrow News is completely free and you don't even need to create an account. So if you want to stay informed and cut through all the biased media, you can do so by going to sand.com/GoWithAli or by scanning the QR code on the screen right now to go ahead and download their app for free. Did you know that sand.com is completely free?
¿Qué?
And with that, I headed back into the US to meet with a retired sheriff, a man who volunteers his time searching for the bodies of immigrants who did not make it across so that they could be identified and returned to their families. And let me just tell you now that this was a lot harder than I could ever imagine.
This is already much thicker than I was expecting. Wow. So people work across this type of terrain for miles in, miles out.
Miles and miles, yep. So if you look in the area, there's a lot of new growth, or growth a couple of years old. I still have to check that because somebody may have died before that stuff grew up. So it's just an added step sometimes you have to go through. We found people on the fence lines, on the caliche roads, dirt roads, and it's almost as if that's a psychological success. Now I can relax my mind. Sometimes relaxing the mind, they'll go ahead and die.
Wow.
Because the only reason they're still going, they've got a tough brain. You never know.
So they just lay there and accept death.
Yep.
Feeling apprehensive, we then continued to head deeper to look for the man that we were tasked to find. And that was exactly when the dangerous reality hit me.
This terrain's fucking brutal, man. Look at this. It's high grass, very, very thick. Your feet keep getting stuck in it. And obviously we're only doing it here to search for people. We have water, we're protected, we've got sunscreen. I can only imagine the desperation that people have when they're trying to cross this area. They got nothing. Most of the time they're ill prepared. And also they really have no idea where they're going. What a brutal life, man. How long would you say it would take someone to die out here if they didn't know what they were doing?
Well, if you don't have any water, you're dying the end of the first day.
The first day?
The first day without water, you'll die. You'll start dying the first day. I have that one guy from Mexico. He was on day 3, no food or water. Wow. He had divine intervention on his ass. Simple as that. Otherwise, he'd have been dead.
And not even 5 minutes later, the search dog found his first bodily remains.
There's a bone?
Yeah. They made a hold the rifle.
See the joint?
Yeah.
We don't have any joints like that one.
No. What's that for?
This is probably a deer.
Oh, like the knee?
Yeah, that'd be the knee. This would come up to the hip up here. The closest one we have like this is our elbow.
Yeah.
But it's shaped like this because the humerus fits inside and it allows it to rotate.
Feeling disappointed, we then continued to look for human remains. And that was when it dawned on me that the 70-year-old retired sheriff was doing all this for free 6 days out of the week.
What made you decide to do this? You could be doing anything in the world right now. You could be resting. You could be enjoying your life.
The families. That's pretty much the families. And of course, I mean, I can sit on my ass as good as anybody. I really can. But this, it's a purpose. It keeps me busy. And it's a need. It really is a need. Regardless of politics or anything else, they need to be found. They need to be returned to their families. They really do. It's just, to a certain extent, if a family has a runaway daughter and they're living in a big city, that's tough. They don't know what she's doing. They don't know where she's going. Is she being trafficked? I know if my daughter was missing,
that a bone?
Yeah. This is kind of what the ulna looks like. It's got that loop on it, but that would be too small for human.
How do you separate yourself from all these emotions when you go back home at the end of the evening and you're trying to sleep and you keep thinking about those things?
Well, you get gifts from friends. So you can take a drink. Sometimes it's easy to make the separation. If what I've done recently, I can maintain a full professional distance. But then sometimes something will key me in, something will personalize it, and then it's then it bothers you. Then it'll come back. I mean, I've had the dreams and stuff like that. I've had dreams where I'm following decomp, the smell in the wind.
Wow.
Things like that. And it's just something you got to deal with. Simple as that. With all the back injuries, neck injuries, and everything else. I've had knee surgery too. Got metal in the back, metal in the neck. I need 2 more spinal surgeries, and I'm just not going to get them because I can't take the time off.
With the sun beating down on us, we started to realize that the dog was already starting to overheat, and so we needed to give her a quick break.
It's water.
What does she mean to you?
What does she mean to me?
Yeah.
She's more important than I am.
Why did you name her Socks?
Just with 2 front feet, they're white. Come here, get some water. There you go. I have all kinds of meds for her. I've got bleed stop. I can give her an IV subcutaneously, if she really needs it.
Oh, that's got to be nice.
Is that nice, Socks? Is that nice? Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, you like that, don't you? Who would you say are the people that you could possibly encounter? Are they mostly drug mules, cartels, or just desperate people trying to cross?
Just the border crossers. That's all I really expect to come across. Like I said, you find the ones that are medically stressed, and they're doing exactly what I hope is. They see me, they want help, so we get them help. The whole idea is to keep them alive, and once they're back home healthy, they know what this is about, so they can decide if they want to do the same thing or do it a different way. I don't fault that. That's human nature.
I tell you what, man, being out here is such a weird feeling. On the one hand, you want to find those dead bodies so that they can have respect, so that they can get buried, and so that they can be repatriated with their family. But on the other hand, you almost don't want to find them, because if you don't find them, then that almost means that they didn't die out here. And trying to balance those 2 thoughts in your head is such a mindfuck, man.
With the dog feeling exhausted, we decided to call off our search for the day. And just as if by sheer miracle, I got call from the previous sheriff who'd located a deceased body up the mountain. And so I rushed over there to meet him.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Oh yeah, wow.
So right now we are taking a 2-hour hike all the way up there, and Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland went there with his colleagues to go ahead and collect that body and to repatriate it with their family. It's a sad, sad case of the reality that immigrants face over here in these parts of the US. Let's go take a look. After about an hour of hiking, we reached this small area of some rainwater, and unfortunately this ends up being a source of water for many of the migrants crossing.
This is water you don't want to drink, right, Sheriff?
For us,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they'll certainly drink it because of course they've already left the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
You know, probably walked several hours, if not half a day to get to this point.
Yeah.
And this may be the first water they come to because there's nothing south of us other than Rio Grande. And then going north, it'll be a ways before they hit water again.
Wow.
You and I, it would probably make us pretty sick.
What's all this? Are those painkillers?
Yeah, that's it's like an Advil. It's pain and inflammation.
Someone's hot.
After 2 hours of an exhausting hike, we finally reached the location where the deceased body was found.
We're going really close. And I think I can already see the area of, unfortunately, where that migrant passed away.
This is the area. Right there, you'll see where it's flattened out. I guess that was his hat. They may not have retrieved. These were some of the cactus that were on him, the sotol, the ocotillo.
You can still smell it.
Can you get a whiff of it?
What state was the body in when you found it?
He really hadn't started to decompose yet, but he was starting to swell just from the gases inside. And you know, he was close to that, starting to just an enormous amount of gas swollen up. They were able to get him in the bag, and we were able to get him off, which is the good part, that we're able to reunite his remains with the family, because there are often examples when we receive information, we go out and we look, and we don't just go give it a pass over and leave. I mean, we spend days looking, because again, it's important to me to get those remains back to their loved ones, and sometimes we're just not fortunate enough to find them. I see him, look. I mean, that's just...
This is the gentleman.
And how old was he? I think mid-20s, they said. I don't see if I see.
I think he was 21 or something.
Was he 6'6", so?
Oh, he 2006?
That's what it says. Date of birth.
19?
See, I thought he was mid-20s, so 19. I mean, then look there. He's just a young kid with his horse. Wow, I hadn't seen that. That's, you know, that's just like us, man. Honestly, I mean, wow.
So as you saw, unfortunately, this gentleman didn't pass away in the best of circumstances. Just here on the side of the mountain, literally in the middle of nowhere, and there's no real demarcation to show where he passed away. So we're gonna go ahead, get a little bit of leaves, some twine, and wrap up a few sticks together to make a cross out of it, just out of respect for him. So hopefully he gets some dignity as he ascends to the heavens.
I think it's special. It means a lot. It'll mean even more to the...
At this point, I really struggled to hold back my tears. After all, this was the exact location where a young man has just died, chasing a better life for his family.
Shall we do a little prayer for him?
Most definitely. You know, I'm a hand holder, like I said. So I'll say a prayer. Dear Father God, we just come to your prayer today, Lord. I thank you for this this time of meeting two individuals, Rob and Ali, Lord. But at this moment, of course, we're here. We're Ireneo. Past, Lord.
At this point, I was genuinely taken back. Here I am with someone in a position that the media labels as evil, and yet all I saw was a simple man in front of me. A man that genuinely cares about the immigrants crossing the border and who's willing to sacrifice everything just to stop this needless loss of lives. And even though we came from completely different lives, his pain really resonated with me.
Lord, we just lift up this family in prayer. We pray for their loss. We pray for the sorrow that they're having, and we lift up Ireneo as well, Lord. We just ask you to comfort the family of the Lord, and we thank you for this time we've had together with this moment that we're sharing that will likely be with us for the rest of our lives. Just plead the blood of Jesus over this family. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
What a day, gentlemen. Wow.
As tragic as this man's story was, his family still considered themselves among the lucky ones, since his body was identified and returned to them. The fact of the matter is, many migrants are found here frequently, and they can't be returned to their family due to the lack of identifiable information.
Right here, I made it to an area called Valley Cemetery, with the border wall a few hundred meters away from us. And just over here, unfortunately, lies the bodies of 14 unidentified people. Even with the best of DNA and forensic results, those people were not able to be identified, and as a result, they were buried right here, nameless, without any real dignity. I wish I could tell you that this situation is very unique to this cemetery, but unfortunately it isn't. This is something that is super common in cemeteries all around this border. And it's just a constant reminder of the brutal reality of life and what some people would go through just to escape their war-torn countries in search of a better life.
Feeling emotional, I kept pushing forward to meet the real monster that claimed the lives of so many in this story. And that was, of course, the border wall.
Wow. It's crazy to think something as simple as a metal structure can separate, quite literally, a bad life from supposedly a better one. And it's a thought that many migrants unfortunately have, and they come here searching for a better life, but unfortunately, just as we saw, they end up passing away and dying and being buried nameless in the ground. Wow, this is huge.
It is way bigger than I thought it would be, to be honest. I thought hold on, pause. Jesus Christ.
I mean, is there any border patrol? I might give it a try. That's enough of that. I think we should get out of here before border control comes.
That
and
might be
gets
them
us.
coming right there.
So,
Yeah, let's get out of here.
As I left the border wall, the lessons of the last few days hit me all at once. And it was obvious that not everyone who attempted to cross the border was a violent criminal, no matter what the news keeps screaming at us. And so I headed to San Antonio, which is one of the most diverse cities in America, to see how the migrants can successfully integrate into society in a way that the fake news media will never tell you about.
I'll be honest with you, before coming here and reading about the news and doing my research, I thought there would be thousands of criminals everywhere, that there would be on every single block, and that people would be butt cats everywhere. Where is that?
Sorry to disappoint you, man, but that's not the reality of things here. But maybe if you search hard enough, you might be able to find some you cat or some cat tacos.
With all that talk about food, we were starving, and so we decided to get some of the best food that you can eat in America, and that was, of course, Mexican food.
Let's go, man. That is what it's all about right here. Let's go.
This is amazing.
As we sat around the table, clapping questionably, I couldn't help but reflect on the events of the last 72 hours. I came to the US-Mexico border expecting drugs, chaos and violent immigrants, and yet I felt like I was leaving with a newly found perspective instead. The majority of immigrants I met were honest people, simply escaping war, violence, and situations that most of us can't even imagine. And yes, while I witnessed real issues at the border that needed to be addressed, but to me, that paled in comparison to the kind, beautiful, and hardworking people I met along the way. And in just 72 hours, I also learned that not everyone working the border is a bad person. Most of them genuinely cared, and yet they were painted as evil by the news anyway. And with that, I wanted to leave you with these words. Judge people by their actions and not their accents, and question the policies and not your humanity.